So I had this grand idea of building an apex roof with gable ends and gable supports. Never built one before, and I've never even confidently said the word gable without sounding like I was guessing. So it's down to the magical forest of handy wood at the bottom of the garden to select these little beauties. They're part of a dismantled gazebo. It came from a house just up the road where the owner was delighted to have more space in his skip. Bailey eats the offcuts I create as I cut all the gazebo posts to size. I love my circular saw, especially for these outdoor construction style jobs. The circular saw in turn loves the speed square. They work well together, so I separate them. And then over to these two sawhorses. They've got the structural integrity of two wet Weetabix biscuits, but somehow they still work. I think they are ex-hire equipment, and they came from the same fella that gave me the gazebo wood, so any criminal history here is purely inherited on my part. And with a little bit of wiggling and jiggling, I get the ends to meet at 90 degrees. The that'll do approach is used here, so don't expect that speed square to leave the circular saw and come over here and do a real job with me. I then start screwing the pieces together at that 90 degree to make what I believe was a roof support using the screws that I thought were least likely to betray me. Clearly this is a two-man job. With the rough timber lined up, I screwed 4 pieces together and confidently called them gables, despite having the roofing experience of a Labrador trying to use a spirit level. Dan and I offer the gable up to the roof to see how it looks. We attach a batten for both support reasons and to tell us where dead centre was. You can just about make it out in my wonderful camera angle. I trim the ends with Old Faithful and re-offer back up for a measure twice kind of event. And then at this point, the British weather makes an unwelcome appearance and drops a cheeky little shower on our work. British weather is basically a rotating selection of drizzle in slightly different moods. Out comes the extension lead and the heat gun, and I'll get on with cutting the other 3 gable ends to match the first one while he dries out the roof. Expecting the roof to be an exact match for the 4 gable supports is just blind optimism, and we'll soon be investing in a workaround for that problem. But I can't blame the speed square. This is Ian putting in an overtime shift for me. Build it for free, learn as you go, making mistakes on timber that was already halfway to the tip anyway. Honestly, if you're nervous about DIY or woodworking, start with pallet wood or reclaimed wood. Random bits and bobs, screws from coffee tins. Takes the pressure off, right off. And what can possibly go wrong? Well, quite a lot actually, but crucially, they're cheap mistakes and they're learning curves. That's basically been the theme from this entire channel so far. Free wood, low expectations and a strong commitment to the phrase, that'll do. No deadlines, no budget, no client waiting for updates, and no one asking for a proper invoice. It's the DIY equivalent of a Sunday League footballer turning up with one shin pad and a hangover. Not elegant, but somehow still committed. Made a mistake? No problem. Take it to the recycling centre and start again. Costs have gone up? Nobody's shouting. Lovely stuff. And that's the 4 gable support posts done. Let's go to the roof. We've added 3 2x4 battens to make the internal roof more rigid. We've also added a burnt name, where nobody will ever see it unless the structure is demolished in 30 years' time or archaeologists are involved. My mum and dad used to write on the walls before wallpapering, ready for the next owner, which is either lovely family history or low-level domestic graffiti. I was no better as a teenager. I painted band logos all over my bedroom wall in red gloss paint, like I was decorating a youth club inside a small crisis. I would have paid good money to see the face of the next owner when that wallpaper came off. He probably thought he'd uncovered evidence of a ritual sacrifice. So this is us between 2 thoughts, gable roof or flat roof, or both. The original plan had been a pitched gable roof, but for the moment we abandoned that and we decided to add EDPM onto a flat roof instead. Why? Because we're not entirely sure what we're doing, and in true free build fashion, we're making it up as we go along. Not in a dangerous way, more in a there must be a better method, but this is the method that's happening right now sort of way. So naturally, with the plan completely changed, we reached for the EDPM rubber matting and we watched plan A quietly wander off into the distance. The EDPM itself was another leftover from one of Dan's projects, which made it an absolute goldmine of a find. This is the find of the century. This stuff costs about the same as a small submarine. Go on, Google it. Cost of a small submarine. I'm not saying it's priced like a luxury watch, but I did half expect it to be surrounded with armed security. Laying it out was actually quite scary, right up to the point where we decided to trim it to size before we glue it down, which made it a whole lot more sense after the event. It was one of those moments that feels clever until you're halfway through it and then everyone goes a bit quiet. Now, another good reason to do these construction projects. They bring you together. I built a pallet slat wall together with my eldest son. I built a catio with the help of the whole family. Both of those videos are here on my YouTube channel. However, not everyone can say they have sat on top of an unfinished, half-waterproof, free-to-build shed eating an ice cream whilst discussing timber geometry that they barely understand. And you won't find that anywhere else on YouTube. The EDPM gets glued down with a combination of a quick dry contact adhesive spray and normal deck adhesive that's applied with a brush and a roller. It's the most mundane and soul destroying task you can ever imagine. You sit on a mat holding planks of wood to add weight while you wait for the contact adhesive to bite. Lovely. I don't think so. In true chaotic fashion, we circle back to building a frame to support an apex roof after all. The return of the apex roof and gazebo wood gable ends. Sounds like a low-budget movie sequel that nobody asked for. And on reflection, there is some serious over-engineering going on here. A better plan, drawn up in advance, would have saved timber, time, and at least one confused stare into the middle distance. Still, this is the learning curve that we woodworkers go on. Oh, I also bought corner clamps for this project. Completely pointless purchase. They spent most of the time just sitting there, judging me. And these are my new sawhorses, by the way, proper Axminster ones. Bought at a closing down auction as a replacement for Dad's Black & Decker. Solid, heavy, reliable. Unlike the rusty old pair that definitely have a mysterious backstory involving an unpaid hire. These are the workshop equivalent of a retired rugby player who still insists on carrying all the shopping on one trip. This is me trying to figure out how to attach these gable supports to the frame. I want to test on the ground before I have to carry them up onto the roof. Build on the floor or build on the roof. One of humanity's more niche engineering dilemmas. This is absolutely a two-man job, possibly a three-man job if one of them actually knows about roofing. Bailey Dog in the background does a lovely biscuit on the nose trick and carries a yellow hoop whenever he leaves the house, but he ain't no roofing expert. I'm using bits of string here because I'm working alone again. I use the string to find when the centre of the gable supports crosses the centre line of the frame. I can then fit each gable support plumb centre with even overhangs. I spend a little bit too much time and energy on this part because I'll end up trimming those edges later in this build, which by the way will be the least of my problems. But I didn't know any of this at the time though, because I'm still learning on the job. Now at this point I'm trying to figure out bird's mouth joints, despite being far too old to be learning roofing techniques from guesswork and blind optimism. If you know exactly what a bird's mouth is, congratulations on being a proper grown-up. I was absolutely believing I was learning on the job here. Truth is, I'm more likely making several avoidable mistakes with confidence. I'm using a plank here as a template. I cut the first bird's mouth and I've got the template to repeat on all the others. That's genius in my mind. If you're a beginner and new to this business, then just be aware that jigs and templates are going to be your best friend, especially on repeatable cuts. I'm making 8 bird's mouths. If you've got one template, it makes it a whole lot quicker. I take my jumper off because it's getting warm outside, stand back and admire my work and feel pretty chuffed with myself. And then I do it all again. Eventually though, somehow, the gables are attached to the frame, while still on the ground. Absolutely no chance of that. Adding that extra weight might become an issue the moment we try to lift the whole thing up. Consider this a dry run then. We'll have to dismantle it, ready to elevate it to the roof. I take a good look around the shell of the gable roof. Not quite equal along the ridge line, but don't forget this is all reclaimed wood, so it will never be perfect. I'm reasonably happy as a first attempt. Bailey starts his final inspections and he asks me to explain my thought process regards to the angles, the pitch, the slope and the elevation. I show him around the roof structure, but I'm keen to show him my mock-up of what pallet slats would look like if they were cut up into shingles as the grand finale. Doesn't matter though. Bailey points out that here in Blighty, anything over 2.5 metres starts wandering into planning permission territory. Now, I was not exactly planning to build the next Salisbury Cathedral, and it was never going to be visible from space, but my neighbour probably would have noticed the giant timber monument from his side of the fence. We all agree that the grand vision of the free shed cathedral had to be quietly shelved for the moment, while we work out a more sensible option for the roof, one that probably would not require a planning consultant or full orchestral choir. And then, as so often happens with these projects, some good luck. 3 useful things arrived at roughly the same time, which felt less like good planning and more like the universe taking pity on me. A huge pile of large offcuts from a dream house build. 2 pieces of plywood left over from my mum's replacement conservatory floor. And the arrival of the Evolution R255 Plus table saw. Awesome. So in the next chapter, it's time to see whether this newly improved, slightly less ridiculous roof idea actually comes together, or whether I find yet another inventive way of making free timber complicated. Join me next week on Chapter 7. Lovely. Hope you've enjoyed. See you again.